After the failed attempt to sell my ranch, I assumed the HOA might finally grasp the consequences of pushing too far. I was wrong. Their next audacious move involved parking. Specifically, their so-called HOA cops, a group of self-appointed enforcers who acted with all the authority of a neighborhood watch and none of the legality of law enforcement. They began routinely parking vehicles on my ranch, blocking access points, leaving notices, and attempting to assert a presence as though my land were a public road. The first incident seemed trivial. A single SUV parked near the main gate, its tires digging into the freshly graded driveway. Ranger barked furiously, pacing, as though he sensed the underlying threat. I initially ignored it, assuming it was a one-off, but within days, more vehicles arrived. Vans, trucks, and even a small patrol car with an HOA decal slapped haphazardly on the side. They claimed they were monitoring compliance, yet they had no legal jurisdiction. I knew that direct confrontation would escalate the situation dangerously, so I began by documenting everything. Security cameras were positioned at all entry points, tire tracks photographed, license plates recorded, and patterns noted. Every vehicle, every trespass, and every attempt at intimidation was logged for legal and strategic use. But documentation alone wasn't enough. I needed a solution that would be decisive, immediate, and unforgettable. A solution that would convey that my property was not a playground for arrogant HOA members. That's when Grandpa intervened. Grandpa had lived on this land for decades, a retired engineer and strategist with a flair for unconventional solutions. He surveyed the repeated parking intrusions, walked the perimeter with Ranger, and developed a plan that was both brilliant and terrifyingly effective. We decided to install a series of controlled deterrents along the driveway and known parking spots. Not actual lethal devices, legal constraints aside, but a series of automated, spring-loaded obstacles disguised as landscaping features. These landmines, as we jokingly called them, would harmlessly disable vehicles attempting to park illegally, deploy smoke canisters, and trigger alarms while remaining fully compliant with local safety laws. We spent several days carefully installing the system. Cameras, sensors, automated alerts, and mechanical deterrents were integrated into the ranch's infrastructure. The result was a perfectly engineered defensive perimeter. Any unauthorized vehicle attempting to park would immediately be detected, the system activated, and the trespasser incapacitated in a non-lethal but humiliating fashion. The first morning after installation, an SUV approached the main gate, tires crunching on the gravel. Karen's voice was audible from inside, barking orders to assert authority. As the SUV attempted to park, a small spring-loaded net deployed under the tires, lifting the car slightly and spinning the wheels harmlessly. Smoke flares erupted from the sides, cameras focused on every angle, and a recorded voice echoed, "Unauthorized vehicle. Leave immediately. Property under legal control of owner." Karen and her crew panicked. They attempted to reverse, but the system had already captured license plates, driver movements, and precise trespass timestamps. Within minutes, every vehicle attempting to enter the property was subjected to the same treatment, resulting in chaos, confusion, and unmistakable humiliation. The HOA board attempted to escalate, calling lawyers, sending letters, and even threatening legal action, but the documentation was airtight. Every attempt to interfere with the ranch had been recorded, every trespass logged, and the automated deterrent system had ensured no physical escalation beyond harmless disruption. Legal review confirmed the system was compliant with property rights and local ordinances. Over the next week, attempts to park on the ranch ceased entirely. Karen tried to negotiate, claiming that the system was excessive, dangerous, and unnecessary. I calmly responded with video evidence of repeated violations, clear documentation of legal ownership, and proof of compliance with safety regulations. Every word she spoke was countered by irrefutable evidence, leaving her fuming and powerless. Reflecting on the situation, I realized it perfectly demonstrated a principle I had been cultivating throughout the years. Preparation, strategy, and absolute understanding of property rights are more effective than force alone. The HOA had attempted to assert authority repeatedly, only to discover that their arrogance, ignorance, and audacity had left them entirely vulnerable. By the end of the week, the ranch was calm again. Ranger patrolled, cameras monitored, and the automated deterrent system stood as a silent, effective guardian. Karen and her board members had learned, again, that the consequences of trespass, overreach, and arrogance on my property were immediate, strategic, and inescapable. Standing on the porch, watching the sunset across the fields, I realized that the series of escalating conflicts, the explosive gates, mailbox sabotage, unauthorized rentals, lake manipulation, road tolls, stolen vehicles, and now automated landmines, had culminated in a comprehensive system of authority. On my ranch, ownership was absolute, deterrence was intelligent, and every act of overreach by the HOA carried inevitable consequences. Ranger barked once at a distant rustle, and I knew the message had been delivered. My ranch was secure, my authority unchallenged, and any further attempts by the HOA to interfere would be met with swift, calculated, and unavoidable consequences. Karen's reign of arrogance had been decisively neutralized, her board humbled, and my property remained untouchable.